I was always drinking to get absolutely blacked out, annihilated. My standards were lowering faster than I could violate them. And he puts the phone down and he said, "You have a problem." We had an open bar in our office.
Oh.
It's a dirty industry. I mean, in more ways than one. I walked into his office and he had a pile of powder, and I had no idea what it was. And I just snort the whole thing. When I have one, my appetite is never satisfied. It's only intensified. Not even 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. My brother ends up having to call the cops. My whole thought is like, man, it would just be so much easier. Just go end it. The best advice I ever got was
So, Kat, you had the perfect life, and you threw it all away.
Yeah.
Because of addiction.
Yep.
Before we get into that, explain to the audience where you came from and what your life was like when you were younger and how you get into all of this.
Yeah. So definitely not your typical drug addict, hope to die alcoholic. I grew up in a great home, Denver, Colorado. I come from two loving parents. Alcohol was in the house, but not really. Like, they drank, but made it look very fun. It was not like an issue. I was the varsity captain of my cheerleading team for all 4 years. I was in all advanced placement classes. I was the president of Future Business Leaders of America. For all intents and purposes, on the outside, what looked like the perfect life. Popular, truly, like, really kind of the ideal setting. The challenge came from, honestly, some of my earliest memories. I just never felt okay in my own skin, ever. You know, I remember feeling like sad and lonely and never really, like, I would have all of these friend groups. Even, you know, from elementary school, I would like hang out with the soccer players, or I would hang out with the, you know, people who were like more in the academic life, and I would just have all of these friend groups. And what I didn't know at the time was that it allowed me to be a chameleon and kind of just go wherever I needed to go, but it also gave me this like sense of isolation. And when I was 13 years old, we were at my best friend's house. Her parents had gone away for the weekend. She had older brothers who had a keg party, and they let us partake. And I had tried alcohol before, but it was really the first time that I had experienced the effects of the alcohol, right? And so this very confused, sad, lonely little girl now has an opportunity to numb out. And I remember we had like 4 other girls with us, and they were, you know, drinking and like holding their nose, and they like couldn't get it down, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." And I'm literally just cannot get it in my body fast enough.
Guzzling.
Yes.
Guzzling it.
And so when people talk about, like, you know, they had like a wine pairing, or like they loved like this wine with this steak, like that was never for me. I was always drinking to get absolutely blacked out, annihilated. And that was, you know, when I was 13, I had the first experience of that, and truly was like, woke up the next day. The other girls were so appalled by their behavior. They were sick. They were throwing up. They were like, "We're never doing this again. What if our parents find out?"
They didn't like the hangover.
Right.
They didn't like the hangover.
No. Or the consequences, you know. And I'm like, is there still alcohol in the house? Like, what are we doing here? Right. And that is really, you know, at 13 years old, the only thing I can really like liken it to is that I felt like I had this super sad black and white life, and somebody just painted it in color, you know, and I was like, I could have used this 10 years ago.
Why do you think you were in that state of mind at such a young age?
You know, I've done so much like work on this. Like, was there abuse? Was there like, I mean, and everything points back to the fact that I believe that this is genetically passed down generationally. My parents don't have it, and my brother doesn't have it. But I definitely, when I started to research truly about alcoholism, right? It is a genetic disease, and it's mental, physical, and spiritual. And it all stems from feeling not okay in your own skin. And so, the idea is that I go to something like God to feel okay in my own skin, but you don't know that when you're 13, right?
Sure.
And so you find alcohol, you find sports, you find academics, you find all of these things. And then later down the line is, drugs and powders and all of the things, the potions, the pills. And the whole point is like just trying to feel okay in my own skin, right? And so that's, I think, such a huge misconception is that, okay, if I just stop drinking, I'll feel okay. And it's like, no. I do drink so that I can feel okay, right?
So you feel better when
yes,
you drink.
Yeah. And one of like the craziest moments I had was I was in Atlanta, and this was towards the end of my addiction. So, from the very best night I've ever had was 13, right? That was the night of my life. Like I had chased that night for almost 20 years, trying to feel the way that I felt that night, the very first night that I experienced the effects of alcohol. And then, tried to emulate that later with adding, weed and cocaine and, the pills and the powders and all of that. And so, as I get older, I have this incredible ability to, get all of these achievements because I'm incredibly driven, and, drug addicts, alcoholics are usually very resourceful. And I graduated the University of Colorado and got a really, really good job after that, and have been given these professional opportunities. But I also have just had these double lives kind of in the background, right? I'm very, very like skilled at, being a little over here and a little over here and a little over here. It's what we do. And I was in Atlanta. I was like 29 years old, and I worked in a supplement company, and there was pills and powder everywhere, right? I mean, we had an open bar in our office. Oh. It's a dirty industry. I mean, in more ways than one, right? And there was a guy in our office who we all he was like a Vietnam vet, like older. I called him Snaggletooth. He was like long in the tooth. And I always used to give him a hard time because he was just like kind of the office drunk, right? And like drug addict, but very good at sales, very good at what he does. Most of us are good at sales. We can manipulate with the best of them. And I walked into his office, and he had a pile of powder, and I had no idea what it was. He was on a sales call, and I just snort the whole thing. And he puts the phone down, and he said, "You have a problem." And I was like, "What do you? I have a problem. Do you even have an address? Like, brother, you slept under the desk. What are you talking about? I have a problem."
And he's the one with the pile of coke on the table.
Right. But that we talk about these moments of clarity in our, recovery journey. And that was one of them, because I really kind of left thinking, holy shit, he's not wrong. Right? Like that could have been anything. Thankfully it was 10 years ago. And we didn't have this stupid fentanyl problem that we have now.
Yeah.
But, there are definitely circumstances when I look back where, I looked down at people for doing things, and I quickly became that person. My standards were lowering faster than I could violate them. When it gets to the end of, my addiction, I'm truly at a place where I don't really care.
Drugs and alcohol will do that, right?
Yeah. It is like this insatiable appetite. And this is, what told me that I was an addict was, people talk about how when you have a drink, you're like satisfied. They're like, oh, I'm going to pair this with a really amazing T-bone steak or this pasta. And it's like this, no, that's never the case for me, right? Like when I have one, my appetite is never satisfied. It's only intensified. And that's with a lot of things. That's not just with cocaine and alcohol. I mean, if I don't keep my addictive tendencies in check, that can be with anything. That can be with money. That can be with shopping, right? And so, you know, it wasn't until I got to a point where I really wanted to kill myself. You know, I had all of the things. I have this incredible ability to build a life that looks amazing on the outside.
Sure.
And
you had a facade.
For sure. It's a house of cards.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how many people I talk to that are like, holy shit, I relate to this so much. Like, and they're suffering in silence. They're in boardrooms doing, you know, lines of blow and going home. And it's like, there are plenty of people that can responsibly use recreational drugs. That is, I don't, you know, hats off to you. If you can and you want to, I don't give a shit, right?
Yeah,
None of my business.
It's like, okay, I got drunk last night, but that won't happen for another 6 months.
Right. There are, I mean, that's called alcohol abuse to me. You know, like if you can take it or leave it, I'm like, well, what are we doing here? You know, if I was a normal human, I'd be drunk and high all the time, but I'm not a normal human. So, what I'm saying is that, you know, there's plenty of people I've talked to who have a very similar ability because they're, you know, able, intelligent, highly driven humans. And it's usually very high achievers who have this insatiable thirst for more. And if that's not redirected, and, you know, for some of us, there's some like pretty severe root causes. Like, you know, I mentioned, I have done so much work in therapy, just trying to understand, like, was there, what happened? Like, how did this happen to me? You know?
That's why I asked you. I said, you know, what state of mind were you in at 13?
Right.
You know, it's just like at 13, you had this appetite for alcohol.
Yes.
And then leading into drugs.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked, you know, what made you feel that way, you know, feel that, that you needed that.
Yeah. And I mean, that has been the question I've asked over and over and over, because I don't know either, except, you know, what I believe comes down to is that it has nothing to do. I've met amazing people who have had incredible childhoods that turn out to be absolute scumbags. And I've met, you know, people who have had really terrible, atrocious childhoods that turn out to be the best humans in the world. To me, that was not the answer. I believe genetically this was passed down generationally. And, you know, I always kind of give this analogy. Both of my parents came from military homes. They were not in the military themselves, but they both had military families. Mm-hmm. And their generation doesn't talk about feelings, right? Their generation says, let's just, like, if it's not happening, like, or if we don't see it, it's not happening.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I came out of my mom's womb like a raw nerve. Like, I feel everything, you know? And not only do I feel everything, I want to talk about everything. I want it out on the table. I literally just want, you know, people to know and see and feel me. And I just want to be recognized. And then on top of that, I have these like weird, awkward feelings of not knowing who I am and feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. And it's just like, oh my gosh, at 13 years old, I just need something to shut this up, right? And I finally found it through alcohol, and then later weed, and then later cocaine, and then pills, and then powder. And as I progressed, you know, I was able to find this balance of like academics, you know, creating like professional goals. I started getting into professional bodybuilding, doing all of these things to like fulfill this appetite. But, you know, it wasn't until I was 31 years old that I like fully surrendered, and I was like, okay, I'm exhausted. Like, the fight is over. Like, I'm waving the white flag. I can't do this anymore. And I was genuinely considering suicide. I live in a really like amazing town. It's called San Clemente, California. It's small, beautiful beach town. I moved there to be close to my brother and his kids. and thinking that I could have a fresh start. In fact, I moved from Atlanta to Orange County with the full intention that I would be sober. I even wrote myself a letter. I would have passed a lie detector test.
So what do you think made you, let's say, wake up and say, this is it. I'm done. I don't want to do drugs no more. I don't want to have that feeling anymore.
Yeah.
What do you think made you, see the light, if you will?
I think it's twofold. One is it stopped working, like the drugs and the alcohol. It got to the point where I was needing more. I would wake up and it was just this constant rat race over and over and over and over. And I promised myself today is going to be different. And then by 10 a.m., I'm reaching for the vodka in the freezer or, the prescription pills. And then, I'm like, okay, well, I might as well because I've already messed up. So the biggest thing was I had a drug dealer show up at my brother's house looking for me. My brother and I didn't grow up in a home where that's not acceptable.
Sure,
Yep. He had just had a newborn. He didn't really know what I was doing or capable of, just that I moved to Southern California to be close to him and his new family, and I was not present, and I really wasn't around. One afternoon I said that I needed to come over because I wasn't feeling good, and not even 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and my brother ends up having to call the cops. This person is high. They won't leave. It is like the most humiliating thing that's happened to me.
And why did this person come?
They were looking for me. There was, there was a miscommunication about, money owed and whatever, what happens with.
Usually that's the case.
Yeah.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. And my brother threw me out. He said, do not ever bring this to, you brought this to my house.
My family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, at the time I was very angry. I was like, this is a huge misunderstanding. You're overreacting. But, I kind of knew at that point that the gig was up. The covers had been pulled. My brother came to my apartment the next day. He's like, yo, sis, this was in September of 2015. He's like, you got to get your shit together. I don't want you around my family. And he's like, I don't know what you need to do, but we weren't raised this way. And I don't really care. He's like, if you want to come to Thanksgiving or be, part of any of the holidays, you need to go get some sobriety. And so I did the only thing I knew to do, which was reach out to a woman who is at my gym. And she was the only person I knew who had any length of sobriety or was even willing to talk about being sober. And I remember I would go to my workouts because I always, thought that if I could just be a normal person working out, going to my, everyday job, not getting DUIs, that I wouldn't actually have a problem, right? That was the best way that I could stay in denial is just showing up to these things, even just half-assed.
So you had DUIs?
No, I never got a DUI.
Never.
No.
Okay.
And that was one of the,
Lucky you.
by luck.
Lucky you, yeah.
I drove drunk. How would I get anywhere? I know Uber, I was so irresponsible. And incredibly thankful that I never got in an accident.
Sure.
I have
That's
1,000
why I like
guardian
Uber.
angels. Yeah, I know. So, I would show up to my workouts and I would, be hungover. I would reek of alcohol, or I would be up for, 72 hours, and I kind of be joking about it because it would be a group fitness setting and there was a lot of women in there, and I would just be laughing and super open about, hey, I'm still high, right? Look at me, aren't I crushing it? Look at the whatever. And she would just so kindly say hey, I have 20 years of sobriety if ever you want to talk. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Like, no, I don't. You know, like, why would you offer that information?
Well, she knew.
Yeah.
She knew.
Yeah.
But it was that was very nice of her to be gentle about it and say, hey, in other words, when you're ready, I'm here.
Yeah, 100%. And she saved my life because she broke her anonymity. And when my brother left my apartment, you know, I looked outside my patio, and we have this train that runs from, you know, like Orange County all the way to San Diego. And it just, I mean, my whole thought is like, man, it would just be so much easier. Just go end it. And I had these 2 dogs who had been through everything with me. I mean, I had a Jack Russell for 17 and a half years. And I had a lab for 15 years. And, you know, I looked down at their little gray faces, and I couldn't do that to them. You know, like they were the longest relationships I'd ever had. It might sound crazy.
No.
You know, there's plenty of
listen, there's many people out there that have pets, and it's their world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like their children.
Totally. I mean, they were, and they had been with me through everything. And so to think, like, just to leave them, you know, like, I didn't know, I'd burnt down every relationship that, quote unquote, relationship that I possibly thought could be of any value. I had no one. And so I reached out to this woman on Facebook Messenger, and I just said, hey, like, can we meet? And she met me that afternoon. And I just bawled my eyes out, and I just told her what happened. I was as honest as I could be at, you know, 0 days of sobriety.
Sure.
And she said, you know, the good news is that I felt the way that you felt exactly. Like, I was you. And there's a solution. It's not therapy. It's not a pill. It's not a yoga retreat. It's not a, you know, equine session or any type of like weird quick fix. She's like, the bad news is it's a 12-step program, and it's probably going to take a while. And I couldn't even, it's like when you see the words go out of your mouth and you want to take them back, I just said, fuck you, because I was adamantly opposed. I was like, what do you mean? I'm not, go to AA? Like with those weirdos, like those guys don't have jobs or like, I'm sorry, you misunderstood me. I have never gotten a DUI. I've never gone to jail. I still have a career. I still have money in my bank account. I think you misunderstood me. And she was like, honey, she's like, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And she like started to push her chair back and get up, and I just grabbed her wrist. I said, okay, I'll do whatever. I will do whatever it takes, because I was broken. She could have told me to walk across the highway on hot coals on my hands, and I would have. I mean, I was at the place of desperation that I really, truly would have gone to any length to change my life.
And again, what brought you to that? What made you say, I need to change?
Yeah.
I need to. It's, you know, was it that you didn't feel the high anymore? It didn't satisfy you anymore?
Yeah. You know, it's because I work in addiction, right? And they call that the gift of desperation, because it truly is a gift. And what I can say is that I believe that it was from God, and that he stepped in that day and said, you're done, right? I had begged him. I had been on bathroom floors and, you know, in parking lots, and like in like these situations where I was crying out to God, like, please, will you just take this? And for whatever reason, it was that day that he separated me. And I can't fully explain why that day. I just knew that I was done. I knew that the drugs and alcohol stopped working.
So was religion like a part of you at all, growing up? Or?
It wasn't. So I knew that I really enjoyed going to church with my friends and their families, mostly because I loved the family aspect. My parents went on Christmas and Easter, but it like wasn't truly like a part of our, like, faith wasn't a part of our household, you know? So when I had the opportunity to go to church with my friends, I loved it. I also loved that they like went to lunch as a family, and they had this like family unit. I would say that when I was 18 and I was really seeking the gospel and just looking for a relationship with God, I went and got baptized. And it really did transform my heart. I did have like a direct, like, I started to recalibrate, but I didn't actually get down to the root cause of what was going on with me. And so I thought that my faith and my religion was going to keep me sober. And so there was a period of abstinence during college. However, I graduated and I started working for a sales organization that would take me to these conferences, and they would have open bars. And I told myself, well, I've had like 2 years of abstinence, right? I'm good. And then I would just light everything on fire. In fact, I was, married to a pretty awesome dude at the time, and he had zero idea that, I had this double life. When I would go and travel, and like, I had no intention in burning down my life. I really didn't. But that's the thing with alcoholism, is like, I don't have a choice to drink. Right? It's not a choice. At some point, I've crossed this line where I wake up that day, and I promise you, I would have stopped if I could have. But it says that no human will can change you or stop you. And so I had to tap into something bigger.
Yeah, exactly. You have to, feel it for yourself.
Yes.
And if you're not ready, you're not ready.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's that special moment that it happens, and wow, you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And, I feel like it comes somewhat in like a process, right? Because a lot of people say, well, you can't get sober for your family, and I'm like, the fuck you can't. My brother said, get your ass in line. If it weren't for him, I mean, granted, I had the willingness and I had the desperation, but it took the push. And so when people are like, I'm here for my family, there was an old me that's like, that's never going to work. But then as I've gotten, I'll have 10 years sober this Saturday. So what is 2 days? Oh my gosh, that's wild. Absolutely wild. I don't really care what brings you to sobriety. I really don't.
Right.
But I do know that it's something just like fitness, just like having a good marriage, just like being successful, that, the rent is due every single day.
Yep.
It's not owned. And so I wake up every day with a clean slate, and I have a series of activities that I need to do to keep my sobriety, to keep my healthy relationship, to keep my healthy body, to keep my, success and my companies and the businesses that I own. I don't just get to say, okay, cool, I'm sober, like put the drink and the drug down and I'm good. I'm not that one. There's plenty of people that can stop.
They say once an addict, always an addict.
Yeah.
It never goes away.
No.
You have to control it,
Totally. And so, what I've done through a 12-step program is I've tapped into God. And now I've used that energy and I've directed it towards rebuilding relationships, towards, meeting the man of my dreams. I've built companies that now help people, where now I can, pair like profit and purpose. And now I get to help people who are just like me.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm a savage.
So,
I work 12 to 15 hours a day.
Is it just religion, or is it multiple things? Working out, religion, all of it combines together to keep you, from wanting, alcohol again.
Yeah. I hate the word religion, because to me it's more about faith and a relationship, religion is like so man-made, and it just like makes my hackles go up. Like, God came for me. Like, Jesus sought me out. Like, he left the 99 and came for me. I truly believe that. So I think that's a foundation for me. But when it comes to, it's like, well, what makes a healthy body? Is it your diet? Is it cold plunging? Is it, fitness?
Right.
Is it nutrition? Is it, it's like, fuck if I know. I'm just
Right.
going to continue to do all of the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that
Yeah.
question, because I think it's a multiple things that, you do to keep you from, wanting alcohol
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah. And, our 12-step literature talks a lot about how if you do the work, you'll be able to be in situations where you used to be in with impunity. And I can tell you, I have been in Colombia at 7 years sober and offered lines of the purest cocaine, right? Like, I have been in Nicaragua and, offered any type of drink or drug. I have been in Paris and at the base of the Eiffel Tower with some incredible like women who I love, who are drinking pink champagne, and I'm so incredibly satisfied with my sparkling water or my mocktail, right? And it's not because I just stopped and I just like went and built this like successful life. It's because first I had to kind of do the work. Like, what the fuck's wrong with me, right? What is so bad about me that I can't stand to be sober? And for me, after years of therapy, after years of sitting with, a person who was basically telling me about my genealogy and, EMDR and all of this, like the 12 steps, like really unfucked me. They helped me unravel all of these things.
I've heard about the 12 steps from friends of mine that, are former addicts themselves.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a religion to them, if you will.
Yeah.
And they make sure that they follow that every single day of their life.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Yep.
It's truly a lifestyle. And I believe that, when I was 18 months sober, I started, I worked in corporate America and I was so fucking bored. I'm like, what am I doing? I would wake up and I was just like, this again? And I had the money and I had the accolades and I had the, all the outside stuff. But what happens when you start to seek purpose is things start to be super unfulfilling that used to, kind of temporarily fill.
Sure.
And I was like, I know I'm built for more. I know it. And I quit. I cashed out my 401k. I found a business partner in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we opened our first rehab in 2018. And the goal was really to create community. There's lots of really good treatment facilities out there, but our thing was really, we want people to come in and know that no matter if you slip or if you get this thing on the first try, that you're family. Like, we give them a hoodie, a vape, whatever they want, and we're like, guess what? You're fam. Like, you're on the alumni list. I don't care. I don't care if you relapse. I don't care if you get this on the first time. And the beautiful thing is we're able to lead as leaders with this lifestyle. And so they see this is not bullshit, right? I still go in regularly and we've expanded now to 3 facilities. One
what is the name of the facility?
Laguna Shores Recovery.
Shores Recovery.
is our big facility. Then we have Orange County Detox, and then we have Laguna Shores Mental Health. And as of 2024, we created a track just for mental health, because here's what happens is we have a lot of people that come in, they get rid of the substances and they uncover this multitude of depression, anxiety. And so, what we do is we take a different approach where we have 2 methodologies. That one, we do a cheek swab, we send it in, and we come back with a printout of all of the medications that actually work with your genetics. And it's categorized, in green, yellow, or red based on, the data that they have. And it's psych meds, it's sleep meds, it's ADHD meds, it's called GeneSight. And so we now have something to go off of, right? Because a lot of times people are like, I need, like the old old days were like, oh, here's some Zoloft. Well, it's not working. And then people are suffering for 4 or 6 weeks. And they're like, oh, let's up the dose. Let's down. Like, because psych meds all react differently on people's, like you and I can do a line of cocaine and have very similar reactions. That's not what happens with psych meds, right? They hit different receptors based on your genetics. There's things that happen. And so we have to have some data. But on top of that, we also do something called brain mapping, where we put electrodes on our clients and we walk them through a series of exercises, one with their eyes open, one with their eyes shut. And we're actually able to identify, are you struggling with PTSD or is this depression? Or maybe, all of these things that you're talking about with major anxiety disorder, that's actually trauma, right? And you can see that. And so now we have data rather than just throwing medication at people, rather than just saying like, sure, you feel sad, it must be depression.
So sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean it's genetic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of clients that come in, especially COVID, right? That just created really terrible habits. They needed
Is it better? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But because now you have me thinking, is it better that it's not genetic, right? I mean, because if it's not genetic, you're not going to be craving it as much.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to figure that one out.
Yeah. Okay. So, I believe that alcoholism and drug addiction are two separate classes. I think that drugs are made to be addictive, right? So whether it's Percocet or it's fentanyl or cocaine, you and I can take it for a certain amount of time and become addicted, right? Alcohol, though, is a little bit different, right? You can drink alcohol regularly and not become addicted. However, if your body metabolizes it in the way that mine does, I'm addicted like this because it is genetic, right? Mm-hmm. So I believe that alcoholism was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I used to hear people say, oh, I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody's grateful. Like, my life was on fire. But I'm not shitting you. I have the life beyond my wildest dreams because I surrendered. I asked for help. I kicked alcohol and drugs out of my life, and I found a way of life through the 12 steps that has helped me create something substantially more than I could have ever dreamed of. I mean, I have a career that gives me purpose. I have a personal relationship. The man I have in my life right now he is everything I've prayed for, dreamed for, and asked for. And the relationships I have with my family now, incredible. Those wouldn't have happened if I just stopped drinking or stopped using drugs, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm of the type where I need a way of life significantly more and different than what I was doing. I think it was really hard for me because I thought I had some semblance of success, accolades, and achievements at 31 years old. I had on paper done okay. And it's very humbling to have someone be like, okay, call me every day at this time and tell me what you're doing. And I'm like, what? Call me before you book a business trip. I'm sorry? I want to hear what you did today. Every single day. Call me in the morning and call me at night. Like, but I was willing. I was willing to do whatever it took. And because of that.
You felt being policed, if you would.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you know much about alcoholics and drug addicts, but we don't like authority.
My father died of cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. At what age?
I didn't know him much because he was out of the house. But I do know, the severity of being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He died of cirrhosis. He was basically a drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't
get the gene. Yeah. Can you drink?
Oh yeah.
And know, like, you can have a glass of wine or half a glass or a beer and just be like,
yeah, exactly.
You don't need 52.
No.
Yeah.
And if I had 52, I'd be sleeping.
Right. See, 52 is when I'm just getting going.
Yeah, no, I'll be sleeping for sure.
Yeah. I remember in college, that was one of the most telltale signs for me, is we would have like friends over and one person would bring a bottle of wine for 4 of us. And I'm looking around like, what is everyone else going to drink, right? And then I would act like a normal person, or try to, and I would have one and drink it faster than everyone else. But I mean, of course I had to like manage and try to make sure that I didn't. And then noticed, okay, I wonder if they're going to finish theirs. And then they'd leave half a glass, and I'd be like, would it be weird if I like, pour, and this is what happens is your mind gets hijacked.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I made it. Like, I only had one glass. I thought that meant I was an alcoholic. Actually, the fact of taking inventory of my thoughts, and when I have one, it triggers this insane obsession. Like, again, it's never satisfied. It's only intensified.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where I was like, why have one?
Yeah,
It's so dumb.
You're not the 1 or 2 person.
No. I'm not. I mean, 1,000 isn't enough.
Yeah. Well, thank God that's not that way anymore.
Truly.
You've come a long way.
I'm blessed.
Yeah.
It's still learning. I mean, 10 years of consistently showing up every single day. And
how is it now that you're actually helping people that are going through the same that you went through?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think one of the most important things I have to remember is that everyone is entitled to their own experience.
Sure.
And just because they may not be experiencing sobriety the same way I am, or maybe it takes them a few tries, or maybe, they're not having the exact, desire to make the changes that I did, it's okay, right?
Sure.
My job is to share hope and just be a light and to share my experience. And if that helps one person, I've done my job. I can lay my head on the pillow and just say, okay, like, I did my job today, but I used to, when I first opened my rehabs, I mean, I was just obsessed. I was like, okay, now we're going to do this. Okay, no. This is how you do it. I was so controlling. I wanted everybody to have,
sure.
No. That's not how I did it.
Well, you had to learn on the fly, right?
Yeah. And there's plenty of ways to sobriety. I mean, my man teaches people how to stay sober through fitness as a foundation. Right. And there's so many men that need that brotherhood, and that AA wouldn't work for them, right? And so it's like, I think as I've matured into my sobriety, I've really learned that my job here is just to be a light. It's just to give hope and to let people know.
But it must be really satisfactory for you to see somebody change their life around for the better.
It is. That is the new high. Right? Truly, yeah. I mean, I get to hire a lot of those people that come through my program. If they get 6 months sober, I would say 80% of my staff have been sitting on the other side of that desk. We're at day 0, taking those, detox medications, feeling like absolute shit, worst day of their life. And now they are sitting on the other side, giving people hope, having, a apartment, and they're getting their kids back, and it's like, this is the gift. Who better
than to help than someone who's already gone through it?
Truly. I mean, I can sit there and talk, but it's far more relatable when I have somebody on the other side with maybe face tats and hand tats and has like 9 months sobriety, versus me sitting over there saying I have 10 years. 10 years is unfathomable when you're coming in at day 0.
Sure.
But somebody that has 30, 60, 90 days, 9 months, those are the people that can really speak to those people. Just be like, just one more day, just hold on, call me, let's do this together. And this is why I'm so big on community. I actually created a free online sober community called Chains to Changed, because I speak very regularly about recovery on social media. That woman who was at my gym broke her anonymity, and it saved my life.
Sure.
And this happens a lot to me where, people ask me, how do you get sober? What do I do? And I say, first thing is find someone in your life who's sober and ask them what they did, because proximity is power. And they say, you're the only person I know sober. I was like, and it was last November, and I was like, there has to be a place where all these people can go and talk to each other and find community, because they don't want to do the 12-step thing. They're not going to rehab. They're high-end professionals. They're struggling. They're kind of in the dark. They feel ashamed. A place where they can go, and God said, build it. I was like, please don't make me do this.
I have a friend that's a former addict, and what he does is when he travels, he always finds the places where they meet.
Yeah.
And he goes to those meetings and just listens to other people, and that's what keeps him on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And he's sober now 20 some odd years.
Wow.
But he makes sure when he travels that he always finds that meetings where, you know, he can go in and speak and meet new people at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of fun for him because he's meeting new people.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
but it's keeping him on, that program is keeping him on track.
Yeah. I think it's so important to never forget where you came from. And that's
Sure.
what a lot of people say, is that, you know, recovery gives them this really big life, and they start to experience the blessings and the gifts,
Right.
and they forget what it took for them to get from day 0 to day 1. And so we always talk about, in my sobriety community, we do this 24 hours at a time.
Sure.
Nobody has, you know, like the fact that I have the amount of time that I do sober shows that I have experience, but that does not mean that I am not just 6 inches, like from my mouth to my head, like from a drink. I'm just as close as somebody is at 3 days.
That's why I said you're always an addict.
Totally. And I mean, that's the biggest gift. I'm a savage when it comes to work, when it comes to working out. I mean, I've now redirected that into really positive things, helping people. You know, I have a purpose now. I wake up every day so excited, like literally on fire, like just having this life and it's like, okay, God, what are we doing today? Because I never know. I mean, we could be here. I mean, we could be in, you know, on a flight tomorrow to another city, and I mean, it's just like, okay, I'm here for it, because I can go anywhere a free man goes because I'm sober.
Excuse me.
I've done the work. I'm a free woman. I've never experienced freedom like this. Not even when I was, you know, abstinent from drinking when I was in college. I never felt free. I felt like I just had to avoid it. Don't drive by the liquor store.
So now you must feel a sense of cleanliness too, and
Yeah.
and a certain form. if
Yeah, yeah. I would say authenticity. You know, I really, it's kind of insane to go from this life where, you know, even as a little girl, a coping mechanism is having, you know, several different friend groups and not really fitting in with just one, and you know, this life that it's like there's not really one authentic you. And then I met me in sobriety. Like, that's the amazing thing. When I got sober, I was like, I don't know what music I like. I don't know what food I like. I don't know. And, you know, I joined a community of people, and you know, here in Southern California, we're blessed. We have some of the best recovery. Every day we're doing something. I mean, you can go down the street and we're playing volleyball. We have barbecues where, you know, we have these huge events for people in recovery, because it is a lifestyle out here, and I'm blessed to have been put in the middle of it. But I found sober friends, and we do everything together.
And you get plenty of sunshine.
Yes, it is not a terrible place. So I mean, I'm blessed. Every day is like, okay, you never know. You just never know what it's going to be.
I'm just so happy that you change your life around for the better, but at the same time, now you're helping others.
Yeah.
You're helping others now.
Yeah.
And that has to be so satisfying
Yeah.
for you, to say the least.
I believe that is what, you know, if you're going through a trial or a tribulation right now, your job is to get through that, not so that you can celebrate and, you know, talk about how successful it was, and it's to help the next person.
So you're at this platform now in your life, helping people, opening up these centers, there's something that's telling me that you want to do even more.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a lot that we want to do. And I think me and Zach are incredibly passionate about showing people that there is a life beyond your wildest dreams inside of you. And you are settling for something less if you're living in this lifestyle of drugs and alcohol. So, you know, we are very passionate about being out loud about our recovery, speaking publicly, being on podcasts like this, putting out my first book in November.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I am.
That had to be therapeutic.
Therapeutic, stressful, you know, like super weird. Didn't expect to. Writing a book is, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. I'm like, what do people want to hear from me? You know, like, what am I doing? But I have incredible mentors, and they're like, do it. It's not an option. You know, you have a story in you. I believe we all have a story in us. And even if my story is, you know, the same as your story, some people want to hear my story from me and your story from you.
Sure.
It's just how it works. And, you know, there are people out there who I think are just like me, who get sober and are really struggling with purpose and where do I go here, and are scared to take that leap. And I will be offering, you know, one-on-one coaching and courses for people, a very select, you know, not to help people get sober. I'm not interested in that. There's lots of free ways to do that. My goal is, though, to help someone build a life that they no longer want to escape from. And I've worked very hard in masterminds with mentors, and I think there's some cheat codes that, you know, I can pass along. And I love helping people. I love mentoring people. And, you know, I think there's some women out there who are exactly where I was. They get some length of sobriety. They feel like they have it all, but they're just struggling with purpose. And they're struggling with what do I do from here? And my heart is to step alongside them and guide them through what I did and hopefully fast track that. So,
sure.
Yeah, that's... we got a lot of exciting things. My husband does the same thing on his side with men, and it's a beautiful thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
What you're doing is incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible work, just to help people and take them out of that cruel world that they're living, if you will.
Yeah.
Because addiction is horrible. And we have so much of it in this country. Yeah. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling how much we have in this country.
Yeah.
But now it's people like you that have turning that around and helping other people and trying and tapping that down, lessening that the chances of someone being an addict and saying, hey, listen, change your life around.
Yeah. 100%. If I can do it, you can do it.
Exactly.
If God will do it for me, He will do it for you.
So, before we finish, what is the best advice that you could give somebody in life?
Man, that's a tough question. I would say the best advice I ever got was be around the people that you want to be like at any cost. Even if that means you have to work for them or pay to be in rooms with them, that there is no way you're going to change your life by living in your same circumstances. Proximity is power. Like, partially moved to California also because there's more millionaires here than many other states. It's per capita, it was millionaires here in New York, and I don't like the weather in New York.
I don't blame you.
Right. And what happened is I started to hang around millionaires and I became one. And, you know, I also did the work. But, you know, people say that they want to hang around, you know, their same low life 5 friends. Like, it's proximity is power.
Sure.
You know, and if you hang around 4 drug addicts, you're going to be the 5th. You hang around 4 millionaires, you're going to be the 5th. I promise you. So do whatever possible. You know, if that means finding somebody and, you know, working for them, cutting their hair, cutting their lawn, being physically next to them. I have paid to be in rooms with women who I aspired and looked up to, and now women are paying to be in rooms with me.
How beautiful is that?
Truly. Yeah. Blessed.
Well, Kat, I want to thank you very much again for coming on.
Of course.
You have an incredible story.
Thank you.
I mean, just an empire that you've built to help others and to help yourself.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Building legacies. That's what it's about.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much. I appreciate it.